people in Unza have been striving to make sure it reaches international standards. University of Zambia is ranked about 50th university in Africa. What do you have that is going to lift Unza from being number 50 to, let's say, top 10? Realistically, not just for a vote, realistically.
Thank you very much for that question, Suilanji. I'd like to remind you that we are in the 21st century. Students, this is the father of institution, the University of Zambia. Before I go further, allow me to talk about directly the lecture theaters. I don't know if you are aware that each student this far pays up to 70 kwacha annually towards renovations, or maintenance, I should call it. And according to my calculation, the students that we have at the moment, registered students, they're about 21,266 full-time and distance students. Now, among these students, we only have about 15,000 full-time students. The rest of the students are unregistered. Therefore, with my calculation that I have at the moment, it gives us to about 1,050,000. That's about $1 billion old currency. This money is intended to maintain the lecture theaters, which is an obligation by management. And if no student knows about this, you should know now. The money has to go where it's supposed to be. I would give an example of the president that we had, Ali Tunkara. He had performed some misappropriation of funds with government, area member of parliament here, with the 50,000 that he had. He was taken to justice. Now, he's not part of the students. He was expelled. It's high time we took accountable with the responsibility in affairs of student money. Suilanji, I know you want to ask me questions, but I want to make it clear to students. I've been here long enough to understand affairs. My standing here as president, comes with great sign-or-show, hope, comes with great deals of service. We are all humans. We come from different families. I have a family at home looking up to me to give a direction of the country, the initial purpose on which the University of Zambia was built. And this time, the golden change is coming.
Thank you. You know what? You're right. I do want to ask you a question. Are you aware that Unza is home to students with special needs and disabilities?
Yes.
Then why is your manifesto so quiet? Doesn't even say a word about them. Zero.
I'll tell you one thing. I did that on purpose because I wanted you to ask me. Suilanji, I did that on purpose. I want to give an example that my ideals are inclusive. To prove that, my manifesto is written in Braille for the people to see. Give me less than a minute to give Joseph to read my manifesto. This is an example.
You know what? Let me give Joseph a microphone.
Okay. Indeed, it's written in Braille, and here it's written, I'll just read the name in the interest of time. Gordon Museteka. Gordon Museteka, School Agriculture, Introduction. The greatest need of the world today is the need. Okay, let me come again. Yeah, it's the need of the greatest opportunity for all. But I can't go through each and every document here because in the interest of time.
Thank you very much, Gordon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please,
Am I done?
please take your seat. We'll call you for your final argument.
I have a lot for you guys. President 123 is my level, and I'll explain everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that was Gordon Museteka, vying for president of the University of Zambia Students Union. Thank you so much, the gentleman there. Thank you so much for that effort. Now let's turn our attention to our next candidate, and that is Felix Mbewe. Felix, can I have Felix Mbewe? Good evening, Mr. President.
Hi, Swilanji. Good evening.
Do you think that for a president of Unza, discipline is important?
It is.
Then why did you come late?
Actually, it wasn't my fault to be late here.
It wasn't your fault. So just from there, when things go wrong at Unzasu, it wasn't my fault. When people don't have places to sleep, it wasn't my fault. It's not your fault. When students demonstrate and break vehicles, it wasn't my fault. When people are beaten, Mr. President, what are you going to do? It wasn't my fault. As president, aren't you supposed to lead by example and take responsibility for your actions?
Sure.
Then why are you failing?
It's a different scenario.
Don't answer that. What's your priority?
Okay, thank you so much, Swilanji. Felix Mbewe, as you said, Swilanji, are my names. Per machine is a slogan. And that implies, it tells a lot about what I want to do. For any person to deliver or to work, you should understand the system. And the University of Zambia is not solely an independent school, but it is under government. Now, being a public institution, what it implies is this. Whatever that happens here at Unza must be in line with what is stipulated in the government gazette. So, my priorities now are these, Swilanji. To students, the machine, as you know, it's any tool that makes work easier. Therefore, I would want to be that tool that will make your stay here at Unza easier. But how? That's a question. So, the major duty that we have as unionists or as presidents is to represent students. But the way we can only represent you is knowing what is of interest to you. For example, Swilanji, you just asked me about me being here. That is like a very good thing. I was supposed to be here on time. I won't dwell on that much, but let me get to the nitty-gritty of the matter here. Students and fellow intellectuals. One thing that I would urge you is when it comes to issues that we need to articulate to you, we've seen what has been there before. And I think what is lacking, if you can check almost all our manifestos, they constitute almost the same things through and through. But what is lacking is implementation. So here is a man that can implement. Probably you might be asking to say, how are you going to deliver? Firstly, I would advocate for continued checks and balances on the union. How? I proposed in my manifesto to say, imagine if we were to change whatever is happening in the union. How? By allowing those that will lose in these elections to be in the opposition, so that we can have somebody checking the president and the rest of the union. That way people can deliver.
Thank you. Let me drive your attention to something. You want academic immunity for senior students.
Exactly.
My question is, for how long? Are we going to have people with immunity growing old and dying at Unza because the president wants them to have immunity?
It shouldn't be like that. Though the advantage is that you don't need to repeat or to redo or actually do a different course. But you start from where you stopped from, or from the courses where you stopped from.
My question is, for how long? Immunity for how long? For life?
No. There should be a
long?
limit. Of course, there are limits to anything. It's up to now to the management to decide that.
It's up to management to decide that. You are the one who brought it in the first place, and then you say it's up to management to decide that.
It's a proposal, Swilanji.
You are proposing.
Exactly.
So if your proposal is rejected, you give up. I just proposed.
You don't actually give up on what you want. You fight and so that you can arrive at a better deal for both students and the management.
Okay. The other thing you want is to engage the student alumni and the private-public partnership to solve the accommodation crisis. And you think that this would definitely end the accommodation crisis, involving former students from Unza and the PPP. So to you, is this a brilliant idea that to solve accommodation crisis that no one has ever thought of? No one has ever thought of it, just you.
It cannot be the most brilliant idea, but mind you, right now as we are talking, the government is already in place trying to build hostels. If you read my manifesto so well about that, it tells on how we can actually have as a second alternative. It wasn't so much about constructing hostels, but to allow students or former students that graduated here to take part in the change that we want for Unza. Imagine if, Suilanji, you are here and you are probably in one of the hostels here, in one of the rooms, and we allow you to paint it or to renovate it, or we just allow you or ask you for a 50 kwacha just in a year. Do you know how much we can gather and fundraise if we were to get back to all the students that were once here at Unza? I think those can be initiatives that we can initiate as Unzasu.
Thank you. My last question to you. One word, true or false? You want to send government inspectors to go and inspect all boarding houses to determine whether they're fit for habitation. True or false?
It's not me to send. That's false.
It's false. It's in your manifesto and you're saying it's false.
It is.
Can someone give me his manifesto? I'm not sure I have it, but I know that that's in your manifesto. You are saying you want to send government inspectors to go and inspect boarding houses.
Can I clarify that, Will?
Please do. Wow, look at the manifesto. Please do.
Students, if you understand how the laws work here in Zambia, you can bet me. I said we should allow and bring back the Lusaka City Council to be in the forefront actually of inspecting the standards of boarding houses. It is not the duty of the union to do that. Our duty is to be there for you students.
For student occupation.
Sure.
You are not being honest. Should
we
students
engage.
vote for someone who lies?
I said we engage.
Yes or no? Should students vote for someone who lies?
No, they shouldn't.
So they shouldn't vote for you. Thank you very much. Please take your seat. You're still watching the presidential debates here at the University of Zambia. This is still the debate. Please take your seat. You have your chance on your reply argument. Let's now turn our attention to our next contestant for the presidential seat. I'm going to call upon Kapalasa Piri. Good evening, Mr. President.
Good evening, Suelanji.
I'm very fine. Your priority for Unza students?
My priority for Unza students is coming up with innovative plans and initiative plans on how I'm going to create accommodation for my students.
There's been concern that you're involved in some corrupt activities. Is that true?
That is false.
It's false.
Yes.
Okay, I won't push that much. You intend to empower the economic welfare of students by introducing economic schemes. Give me 3 of these economic schemes that you want to bring out to empower students.
I did not say I want to bring economic schemes. I said I want to empower students. I want to empower students economically. I didn't talk about a scheme in my manifesto.
Okay, let me go to your next question while I look for your manifesto. Yes. The other thing you want is to bring internet to every boarding house. How exactly is the funding going to work around that internet?
In boarding houses, students are paying over 700 kwacha in Kalundu and in Handsworth. And when you go to Kalingalinga, the students who are paying about 300 kwacha to 400 kwacha. Now, Suelanji, if you come and negotiate with the city council, if we as the union sit down with the city council and come up with rules and regulations to regulate what boarding houses should institute or constitute before they actually called boarding houses, we are going to include a clause that will be an internet clause. And in this clause, we have to make sure that each boarding house, before it's declared a boarding house, should be able to provide internet to the people in the boarding house. Because you see, if you go to a boarding house, let's say with 5 rooms, in 5 rooms, there are about 20 people. in total because there's 4 people in each room. And from one room, you're able to rent a whole house from the money that is paid in one room. So are you telling me a person who is renting out a boarding house can be that greedy as to not provide internet to the students? I think if we put it in our rules, we put it in our regulations, we should be able to agree with the city council and they can bring those, they should be able to bring those rules on board. So that is what I suggest.
You denied the schemes. I found your manifesto. This is what it says. As Unza's president, I plan to improve students' economic welfare by empowering them through various schemes that aim to encourage economic independence of students.
Yes. Okay.
Should students vote for people who lie?
Economic. You might have phrased it in a way that I did not put up, but economic empowerment of my students. This is how I intend to do it. You see, Suelanji, we've got several shops in this university. We've got the cafeteria. That is a big business, and people are making a lot of money in this university. So when I sat down and researched, I found that these people are bringing money out of the university and they're not benefiting any of my students in any way. So what I suggested was, how about we come up with a certain condition to say each shop that is operating in the of Zambia, if they are able to, should bring on board students to work in those shops. They should bring on board students to at least manage their shops, because that way at least money will stay in the university and they'll be able to empower the students. Secondly, in the economic empowerment, I suggested that we should empower associations by at least giving them shops. In empowering associations, we'll be relieving Unzasu of the burden of providing hardship loans, because October shop, that shop alone is making over 2 million profit each day. And if that profit is going to an association, I feel...
2 million, as in 2 million?
2,000 kwacha rebased. Thank you.
Okay, the thing I've noticed in your manifesto, you are saying you've noticed corruption in the allocation of rooms. What loopholes exactly have you noticed that open doors to corruption? What are some of the loopholes in this process?
You see, my brother, corruption is something that is ongoing, and it's not something, it's something you can't deny personally that is going on. It's going on. And for us to give corruption a blind eye, we'll be killing ourselves. So what I suggested for room allocation was we should come up with independent and predicted bodies to come and allocate rooms here in the University of Zambia, so that we don't have people predicted to sit on those boards.
You've been a student of Unza for how long?
I've been a student of Unza for 3 years.
3 years. In your individual capacity, what have you done for Unza as an individual so far?
As an independent student in the University of Zambia, I have taken up several responsibilities. When you go to Kalingalinga, there's Kalingalinga 4. I went there personally when they were facing a sanitation problem. And they called me because I was an aspiring candidate. This was recently. And I went there and they called me to say, contribute, we have to renovate our toilets and showers. But I told them, that is not the way I work. I'll give you an innovative plan. I'll give you a plan on how you can renovate these hostels. And I told their whole rep to say, can you come up with a letter and write to these entrepreneurs who are here running businesses in the university? And I'm very happy to say that my suggestion has worked, and the people who are running the Shawarma Hub are going to renovate the toilets, and they're adopting that hostel to ensure sanitation is always at par here in the university.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Okay, so that was the other presidential candidate who is vying for a place to be president of the University of Zambia Students' Union. So many students making noise outside shows you that each and every student is making this election their personal business. And each and every one of these candidates must do a very good job if at all they are to get the top seat. Let's go to our next candidate, Shepherd. Mr. President, please. Good evening, Mr. President.
Good evening. Thank you. I want to say good evening, everyone.
Do you think Unzasu is a military, a democracy? What kind of leadership style do you intend to adopt? That of being a democracy or that of being I am the colonel and I'm going to run things my way?
Thank you very much for that question. I would love to say that Unzasu isn't military. Unzasu isn't democratic. But I, as Simple Kaneo, as I call myself, and my fellow students call me that, I really believe that the University of Zambia Students' Union, I think someone can help me just bring this up because I'm not really comfortable.
Please help him with the microphone. We want him to win.
This is much better. All right. Let me continue as I did not pause. I want to say that the University of Zambia Students' Union has missed a person like me. And that is the reason why, if you look at me, you're going to deliver a lot of questions. You're going to ask me, am I a military? Hello? Okay, it looks like there's a technical failure somewhere. You're going to ask me a lot of questions. You're going to ask me to say, am I military or something? But I believe... Thank you. You have a question?
No, it's not a question. Don't speak too close to the microphone. The microphone is popping the sound, so don't speak too close.
Viva data. Viva student power.
I'm saying you're speaking too close to the microphone, like Maki 2. Just move it a bit.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
There's nothing.
Can someone help me here? Because this is not really working out.
Hello?
This is not my problem. This is not working out. Someone should do their job.
Okay. I'm saying the microphone you're using is just okay. You're just speaking too close to it, so the sound is popping. For those who are watching from TV, it's popping. Like, that's what we're trying to avoid.
This is what I was waiting for. Let me continue. I want to say that the University of Zambia Students' Union has been missing an important piece. A piece that looks like me. And hence, that's the reason why my interviewer is asking me a question, is Unzasu needing a person like me who looks like a military? But the most important thing that we should look at is that what matters is the affair of the students. It does not matter me looking like this, like a Kaneo. It does not matter me looking like Kapalasa, wearing a jacket or a suit. What matters is me protecting the interests of the students. Thank you very much. Let me continue. I want to tell you that right now, I don't stay in school. I was late because I come from John Lane. Now, that is an impact of not having accommodation. I'm not accommodated, and hence, I was late. This is the biggest problem that students at the University of Zambia are facing. And I'm in this problem, I feel this problem, all right? And I know, having felt the pains and the antagonistic problems, the antagonistic effects of not being accommodated, I can bring about accommodation. Hence, my number one priority in my manifesto being accommodation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've got a question on your accommodation plan. According to you, just tell me, how long is the office of president for Unzasu?
Come again?
What is the tenure of office for Unzasu president?
The term of office?
Yes.
It is an academic year, a single academic year. For me, like for those who are in third years, like me, doing adult education, definitely I'm going to be there for one academic year.
Good, thank you. That's
Thank
what I was
you.
waiting for. So the term of office is one academic year, but the plan that you have here says that you want to engage management to solve the issue of accommodation by having a program that's going to run for 5 years building hostels. So it means that in your 1 year, students will not have a solution to the accommodation crisis. In your 1 year.
Thank you very much. That is a very wrong reading of my manifesto. I think I should read it myself. Now, let me continue. We are all intellectuals here, right? And I believe that we've gone through the plan and the policies of the University of Zambia. Now, what he's talking about is talking about the 5-year plan, the strategic plan 2013-2017, which says, objective number 5, it says the university management is going to make sure that they build 10,000 bed spaces for the students. And the question is, what has been done? And therefore, as the next CEO of Unza, I said in my manifesto that I'm going to work in line with the strategic plan of the management. Because even if we're a pressure group, even if we are a union, we just don't come up with, just from the blues and say, no, we want ourselves. Let's look at what the management has. Let's look at what the environment has for us before we come up with what our thoughts are. And therefore, we are going to be able to work in cooperation with the management. Because that is going to be total confusion. We just come up with something, no, we want this, which is not in their plan. That is the reason why we realize we are weavers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So you say that students coming up with their own policies is going to bring confusion. So there are 10 candidates. Most of these have got their own plans. So when people vote any of these into office, Unza will be in total confusion.
All right, I should give you an example of Zambia. Do you know the reason why, as Zambia, we don't develop? The reason is because every time you have a politician who goes in office, he wants to start his own thing. But the question is, I'll give you an example. Why don't we continue with the previous projects to make sure, because look at, I think I have a manifesto of someone who is in power right now, my outgoing Mr. Sivo. He promised accommodation to the students. So, if I have seen that nothing has been done concerning accommodation and I come, why should I pick something else, leaving something that is very important? That does not make any sense to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My last question to you. When you're sworn in as president, what is going to be the one thing that Unza students must remember you for, and what is it that's top on your agenda?
All right. There's this one man by the name of Hitler. I want to assure Unza, and I want to assure the nation that Unza has not lost. We have just been struck by the November criminals. For those who know history, they know what I'm talking about. We have the solution to our own problems. And the thing that we need is to have someone who can present our solutions, because you guys are intellectuals. You have solutions on the fingertips of your hands. And therefore, if someone can pick those solutions, take them to the management, take them to the government, tell them to say, these are the problems that we're facing, and we think these are the solutions. Something is going to be done concerning our problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Okay, so that was the presidential candidate. He wants to be your president. The question is, does he deserve your vote? Do you feel that he is going to take Unza one step ahead? The decision is ultimately for you. Let's go to our next candidate. Please welcome Makondo Brian. How are you feeling tonight, Mr. President?
Sorrow.